It was an important step, and the developments in the external value of the euro show that the markets appreciate this step. People believe it's made the Eurozone more stable.
But not all the challenges have been met so far. Greece has to do everything in its power to push ahead with reforms and restore economic competitiveness.
There you have it. Two expert opinions from Germany regarding the latest rescue package for Greece. Welcome to a special edition of Made in Germany. I'm Ben Fazulin. Today we'll take a close look at the euro debt crisis and all of those bailouts. We also sent out our reporters to other European countries that don't use the euro to see how they're weathering the storm. Here's what's coming up. Another bailout for Greece, but is it enough to get the country out of trouble? Curse or blessing? The strength of the Swiss franc, good for investors but bad for Swiss exporters. And slowly but surely, Ireland's economy is finally showing signs of recovery. After receiving another multi-billion euro bailout from the European Union, it would appear that Greece has been saved from going bankrupt. But is that truly the case? The new rescue package totals a whopping 109 billion euros and is aimed at helping Greece get back on its feet. But it's a two-way street. Of course, Greece must undertake painful measures itself to get out of debt. Now, one thing that is helping Greece is tourism. That's one of its key sources of revenue. And if you've ever had the chance to experience Greece's islands, then you know why they're so popular. We head now to the island of Crete to see what the effects of the debt crisis has had on the country's tourism industry.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome in Crete. Welcome in Arolithos, the traditional Cretan village.
Thank you.
Welcome very well.
25 years ago, Mikalas Solostros reconstructed an ancient Greek village on the island of Crete. Back then, his customers were German hippies. Now it's families who come in large groups. Mikalas Solostros planned well for the future. His idea still works. Original stones, original layout, and an overall flair. Today, guests from Moscow arrived, and yesterday, a group from northern France. They don't seem interested in the EU's bailout plans for Greece.
I think the whole process will keep this stressful situation in longer. So, and at the same time, it increases our obligations.
Greek tradition for all ages. Crete remains a dream destination. But despite the beauty of the olive trees and the sea, much of the island still looks like a construction site. And now the taxi drivers have gone on strike. George Papatheodorou has only driven as far as the picket line. The government wants to open up the taxi market, and that would considerably reduce the value of his €100,000 license.
Of course we want to be part of the European system, but we also want European laws and our politicians to stop doing whatever they like.
For these Greek citizens who now live in Austria, the only way to get anywhere is to walk. What needs to change?
The Greeks have to learn to pay taxes. That's what they need to do.
The Amarandis is a luxury hotel, and anyone who can afford to pay between 400 and 10,000 euros a night can be assured everything will be great. The hotel is fully booked. Last December, the manager of the hotel was worried. But so far, 2011 seems to be going well. What about the EU and the rescue package? This manager sees things differently from the small hotel owner.
I think it was a good idea for Greece and Europe as a whole. It's a great help to the hotel trade. After all, if bank shares collapse, his customers will suffer. But how do they assess the current mood?
When you see so many things that haven't been completed, you start to wonder how Greece will manage.
Many Greeks say they will. At least people like Janis Teneropoulos, who knows Germany well. The former hotel manager is on vacation here. He says the package tours are bad business for the small hotels, who cannot charge extra for sunshades and beach recliners. Time to rethink business strategies, perhaps.
Here, everyone does as he pleases. This isn't good. My working mentality is German. I was always at work by 7 on the dot. Others came at 15:15. Everyone tried to do that, and I took a poor view of that.
So it seems the ancient Greek village still has potential as a hotel. The old hippies are coming back with their grandkids, or plenty of cash. So if they're not here, it's because these days they can afford the luxury hotels.
Ansgar Bilke joins us now from the German Institute for Economic Research. What's your opinion? Have the Greeks actually been saved from tragedy?
I think the summit got quite stuck in the middle. They bought some time with their conclusions. But seen on the whole, we have expected much more in terms of the haircut, the reduction of Greece's debt. This especially means that Greece has not been alleviated with respect to the total debt burden. What we expect is another haircut necessary to be in around 2013.
Mm-hmm. Let's have a look at the two rescue packages to date. Last year, the European Union footed the bulk of the bill, 80 billion euros. Another 30 billion came from the International Monetary Fund to make up 110 billion in all. In the new bailout, more than a third comes from private investors like commercial banks and insurers. Now, we're talking about the same amount of money, but what sort of a difference will this make coming from private creditors?
In principle, this should serve for a fair sharing of the debt burden, because all the investors from the finance industry should have known that debt beyond 60 percentage points of GDP is not reasonable and not sustainable. This is a kind of punishment, but if you look closer to the results, there is no punishment for the banks at all, because everything is guaranteed. They earn very much by the technical enacting of the debt restructuring. They earn very much from the interest rate spreads, so the haircut is too small. And there's a zero additional burden. And you do not have hedge funds in, by the way.
OK, last time you were here, you said new packages, new rescue deals wouldn't settle the markets. Is that still the case?
I think the markets still realize that some time has borrowed, so the markets are quite calm. But they immediately will see in the future that, for instance, Italy will be a case in point. And this is just implying that the rescue fund is too small to serve the needs of Italy, even it defaults only partly. So there's much to do in the future, and this does not seem to be ready.
As far as Greece goes, is it back to square one?
Yeah, Greece is not really back on the tracks. What we guess is that they need to go down to a public debt share to GDP of 90 percentage points. What this package arrives at will be 125 percentage points of public debt as a share of GDP. So it's not enough and not sustainable.
OK, Mr. Bilke, don't move a muscle. I've got some more questions for you in a minute.
Yes.
First of all of this uncertainty at the moment here in Europe has got investors pouring their money into safe havens like gold, of course, and the Swiss franc. An increasingly strong Swiss franc is great for the banks, but what about Swiss exporters? Their products have suddenly become more expensive. Our reporter braved her way through all of the market turbulence to get to the eye of the storm, where calm prevails while everything else around it is in a spin.
Sober and discreet. The Swiss business model is working just the way it always has. Questions aren't always asked about the billions investors bring into the country. At Vontobel, a Swiss private bank, Peter Fanconi looks after particularly wealthy customers, such as companies or rich families. Since the euro hit troubled waters, they prefer to buy Swiss francs.
It's clear that first and foremost they want security and protection against further loss of assets. On the other hand, they also hope for a return that's much higher in relation to other investments.
Zurich enjoys an especially positive image in Europe as a financial centre. These days, those with money prefer to buy Swiss francs instead of euros. The result, the Swiss currency is gaining in value and becoming more expensive, a rise of 20% since January. The country's largest bank is UBS. Sandro Marino is a financial analyst. He sees why investors place so much trust in the Swiss currency. One reason is the country's sound budgeting policies.
In 2001, Switzerland introduced an amendment to its constitution, what we call a debt brake. In years when the economy is doing well, the government has to spend less than in the years when it's doing badly. In other words, there's a mechanism that ensures the national debt remains balanced.
But some businesses are having problems.
We could make a series of bottles reflecting the currency crisis. We've already got Greece, Portugal, Spain, Italy here.
Some gallows humor from the boss. The euro crisis is affecting his business. The SIG company makes bottles. 90% of them go to the euro and dollar zones. The strong franc makes the bottles very expensive there, and sales have dropped by 20%. The company has to make cuts and lay off workers.
We market our bottles, all of which are produced in Switzerland, as a Swiss product. Everything, including the plastic, is produced in Switzerland. That's why we can't go into other markets such as the Eurozone or Asia. It's impossible for us to transfer production to other countries.
Peter Fanconi thinks that will remain a problem. He says the latest rescue package for Greece doesn't mean the euro crisis is over. Would the Swiss franc perhaps have been a better currency for the European Union?
I think we should remain as we are. We've done well and would rather attract customers to Switzerland than export our francs to the EU.
Peter Fanconi recommends that Eurozone politicians keep calm and says the large European Union could learn a lot from its little sister, Switzerland.
Well, let's turn our attention now to Ireland, which was the first to hit the wall in this crisis and the first Eurozone member to tap into the bloc's rescue funds. After 3 years of the government slashing and burning, the Irish economy cautiously grew again for the first time in the first quarter of the year. It's come at a high price, however. This week, the country's new Chief Justice said the courts in Dublin have seen a trail of tragedy. Fraught families, separating spouses, lost jobs, homes under siege and companies being wound up. We head now to Dublin to gauge the mood. Most Irish are certainly ready for a turnaround.
Is Ireland back on the road to prosperity? Many people in Dublin followed the Eurozone Emergency Summit in Brussels on television. Their relief is palpable.
I think it was the first time that I watched the news in about 3 years and felt good after watching the news. That's what I thought about that.
Because of what?
Well, I mean, we got a chance to fix what has been done wrong here. Because we got a lower interest rate, we got extra time to pay, we got 15 years instead of 7.5, I think. And so the Irish economy then has a chance to recover.
We've obviously secured a debt cut of €800 million, so I think it's definitely a good thing for Ireland, you know.
The bailout is fantastic for us, 800 million.
Interest payments cut by 800 million a year, according to a report in the Irish Times. That's good news here too, at Jungheinrich, the Irish branch office of the German forklift company. 2 years ago, its turnover fell by 40% and lots of employees were laid off. Now the company seems to have come through the worst.
The business is running very well, but that's because of all the measures that we've taken over the last number of years to reduce our internal costs. So now we're dealing with customers who are very price focused, so we have to meet their requirements. And this is going to be the new reality going forward. Jungheinrich's main customers are in the pharmaceuticals and food industries.
Their products are doing better, so Jung Heinrich can sell more forklifts again. Everyone here thinks Ireland is on the way to economic recovery.
The growth industry is in the logistics sector, where the movement of goods in and out of Ireland is becoming greater. And this is where we see the jobs, but also the growth where we see the growth is in our youths and our education system. We've got a very highly educated workforce here, and companies from America and companies from Europe see this as an ideal country to set up in.
Speculation on the property market, the bank crisis, billions of euros in debts. German companies in Ireland were also hard hit by the recession. Holger Erdmann of the German-Irish Chamber of Industry and Commerce knows their problems. Many had to lay off employees, but now they want Erdmann to find them skilled Irish workers who speak German.
The Employers Association expects 1.9% growth in 2011. So it looks as if we can expect moderate growth again. Exporters are doing very well, and that's interesting. And exports to Germany are booming right now. Compared with 2010 and 2009, from the Irish standpoint, that's an improvement of 42%. And that's really astonishing.
That's something to drink to. After hours, German and Irish entrepreneurs gather in O'Donoghue's, a traditional pub. So, is the worst over for Ireland?
The only problem now is, of course, that if the ratings agencies still downgrade our debt to junk status, we won't be able to borrow on the open markets for a long time to come.
The bank's the biggest problem. You can't get any credit or anything, you know, like it's all a knock-on effect, you know. Hopefully the French and Germans will be able to look after us. They help us like that we're in business, you know.
So there's plenty to discuss here in O'Donoghue's, and many a Guinness crosses the bar in the process.
Back to our guest, Ansgar Bilke. Dublin's still bogged down in debt. Is it too soon to be optimistic about the Irish economy?
I think you should be quite optimistic with respect to the recovery of the Irish economy. There are huge differences with respect to the other euro area countries, for instance, Greece. Look at the starting point of the crisis. Ireland suffered very much from low interest rates. This looks funny, but this has blown up a huge bubble in real estate, and combined with very weak financial supervision, they started from high growth rates and went back into the recession and were very much hit. Totally different case is Greece. So Ireland very much has recovered with respect to exports, and we are very optimistic with respect to growth rates.
But even though they're totally different, can Athens learn something from Dublin, do you think?
Yes, of course. They should lower their domestic demand. They should go much more for exports on a variety of goods, and this is what it should learn. And another aspect is to go more for, not for foreign debt, but for domestic debt. And this is what Ireland is. There's much less of foreign debt.
Could Athens be holding out its hands for another rescue package in another year from now?
So I think that a new rescue package will have to be tailored after 2 years, in 2013, because we then will have the new rescue fund in 2013, which will make it much easier to go for debt restructuring. By now you have to go to Greek court in order to get back your money, and this will be different afterwards. So the new package will be tailored, I guess, at least not earlier than within 2 years, or we will see huge transfer programs.
The ratings agency Moody's said this week that default status in Greece is almost certain, as the Eurozone rescue will only provide limited relief. What do you think?
I cannot quite follow this advice by Moody's, and all the other rating agencies put Greece just 4 steps before default. That is to say, on a much better place. And this is justified because Ireland looks forward to receive some help from the so-called European Financial Stability Fund, the current rescue fund which we have. And this is the most remarkable part of the result of the last summit, that the EFSF has new competencies in helping countries, and among them Ireland, at lower interest rates than before.
Well, just briefly on that, what's the way forward for the Eurozone then?
So I think we cannot prevent a transfer union from coming. By the way, we already have it via the European Central Bank, which has bought Greek bonds, Irish bonds and Portuguese bonds. And if there would have not been such kind of summit, the ECB would have even to go for a quantitative easing like the US did, that is to go for buying all the bonds of all euro area member countries. And this would be at the damage of the reputation of our most important asset, the ECB.
Okay, Mr. Bilke, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Okay, on to our question of the week. This is your chance to tell us, of course, what you think about the mess that Europe's got itself into. How much solidarity can the euro bear? Let us know by filling in our online questionnaire. The address is dw-world.de/English/Made in Germany. You'll automatically qualify for our monthly draw, and with a bit of luck, you could win a USB card with our full coverage of the 125th anniversary of the automobile. We're marking the occasion throughout the year with special reports, so don't miss out. Last week, we wanted to know what you think of homeopathy. Charles Bailey from South Africa wrote in, as a child, he suffered from epileptic fits from a head injury and even lost his ability to walk and talk properly. Well, after 2 years of visiting brain surgeons, his mother stumbled across a homeopath. He says 1 year of drinking medicinal powders cured him fully. Thanks for writing in. On to one of the European countries that doesn't use the euro now, Sweden. Is it benefiting from the crisis in any way? And is the situation there any better than the Euro states? Well, some observers believe that these countries that are part of the European Union but not part of the Eurozone should be playing a bigger role in helping out their fellow member states.
Hur varmt? Var det 29 grader nu? Ja, men då är det väl ingen.
The Kronstrand family spends every summer at their vacation home. A cool dip is just the thing with temperatures above 30 degrees Celsius. All seems well with the world in Sweden right now. A current survey shows that if a new referendum were held, 64% of Swedes would say no to introducing the euro.
Of course, we see in the media what is happening. We have internet here, and we're worried about our Greek friends. But we're also glad that it doesn't directly affect us here.
Some 40 kilometers away, Sweden's capital, Stockholm, with more than 2 million residents. In 2003, 56% of Swedes voted against introducing the euro. The Swedish krona remains the national currency. We asked Professor Lars Kampfors of Stockholm University why that is. He met with us despite the summer break.
Our main argument against joining was that we still had a big unemployment, so we couldn't take the risk of unemployment going up further and not having our own monetary policy to deal with that. And also we had a fiscal crisis, so we couldn't at that point of time use fiscal policy to dampen any downturn. So our argument was then that Sweden should join, but we first had to put our own house in order.
And the Swedes did put their house in order. Last year, their economy grew by more than 5%, despite the financial crisis.
Oh, I think it's good to have the crown, still have the crown. So I'm not positive to the euro.
But now I think it's an advantage for us not to have it. But when we're part of the union, so we also have to take responsibility now for Greece and Portugal and the other countries.
So far, it's mainly Swedish companies who are in favour of switching to the euro. About a third of them do business in Eurozone countries. On the way from one holiday home to the next, we meet up with Elisabeth Ringqvist of the Swedish Trade Association.
In one way, we can only... it's a good thing to be able to see and evaluate. On the other hand, it's very much being outside and seeing, just being affected about what will happen, because if the Eurozone doesn't work in a proper way, it really affects the demand of the small business companies in Sweden, and we have no vote in that system.
Sweden without the euro, a nation enjoying the summer.
Well, it's in everyone's interest here in Europe that the euro doesn't fail, so we can all enjoy the summer. That includes me, of course. With that, we wrap up this special edition of Made in Germany. Hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to check out our website for more information on the programme. The address is dw-world.de/English/Made in Germany. And then you can also watch our reports again on video on demand. From all of us here in Berlin, thanks for joining us and see you again soon.